Welcome to Alternate Ending, where we're discovering good movies, one bad movie at a time. I am your host for this week, Tim Brayton. With me, I have a couple guests, our man in Paris, Gavin McDowell. How are you doing, Gavin?
Hello, I'm actually in Strasbourg at the moment, so here on conference business.
Our man in Strasbourg, as I was saying. What brings you to Strasbourg?
It is a conference on 16th century Christian Hebraeus who lived in Strasbourg. In fact, I used to live in Strasbourg. It's where I learned French, though not Hebrew, and I didn't live in the 16th century, so I can't talk about myself. And I think that's of interest to literally no one who's listening to this, except, no, not even Mandy. But that's maybe Mandy. That's it.
I will say, vis-a-vis your interests being something that get people to listen to the podcast or not, the episode you and Mandy did that remains... I don't think I've thanked you in person. I think I thanked Mandy in person for that episode. I can't even remember now. I loved that episode. If you haven't listened to the Agora episode of Your Movie Rocks, go out and do it. That episode was the first time my partner has ever listened to our show. He doesn't listen to it because he doesn't want to hear my voice. But I was like, you have to listen to this because he cares about early church history. I mean, who among us does not? And he liked it. So okay. Thank you for that.
I wasn't sure if it was ironic or not. And people saying, that was certainly an episode.
I do not mean it ironically. You know my work enough to know that I do not mean it ironically. I certainly hope.
Okay.
And we also have joining us from Los Angeles, Caleb. How are you doing, Caleb?
Hey, I'm good. Mostly good. I apologize if I sound a little loopy today. Been feverish from a bug I caught traveling and just got back, but maybe feverish is appropriate as things are heating up for July releases.
Ooh, that's a nice segue. I like that segue. But yes, so we are here to talk about the wide releases. Unfortunately, the wide releases in North America coming up in the month of July. But before we get to that, we do want to have our movie roundtable that we have every episode where we bring some movies to talk about. And Caleb, what is the film you're going to be chatting with us about today?
Okay, so I will be talking about a short queer film anthology, actually, that is actually an ad hoc anthology put together for the Provincetown Film Festival, which was one of the things I had the pleasure of seeing films at this past week and weekend. And the first of these three that I'm going to talk about is Gender Reveal by Mo Matten, which is, I think, maybe one of the more likely of the ones that I saw there to get a wide release in some format. This is a delightful little movie about a gender reveal party that three queer friends are invited to. One of them, who has recently come out as non-binary, it works with the man of this wealthy, waspy New England couple who are having their gender reveal party, and things are very awkward and weird, and there's a bunch of misunderstandings early on. As things are gearing up for this gender reveal party where there's a lot of like genitalia shaped like balloons and cake things and treats and stuff all over the place, and sort of like a heightened version of the weirdness of this particularly American phenomenon that has emerged in the last 10 to 20 years of holding a big celebration to then shoot up rockets or something to tell your guests the genitalia of your coming infant.
As I understand it from the internet, often to murder one of your guests in a horrible firecracker-related explosion.
Yes, or to burn down half the state of Texas, as has also happened as a result of gender. And wouldn't you know it, things start to escalate in really deadly ways towards the end of this film. As the gender reveal party gets out of hand, it gets outrageously violent. There's some extremely good practical effects, gore, well over the top. The three protagonists are great. They have a very funny banter together, and the party guests are are just terrible in the best possible ways. The other ones and the host family are. It is the rate of jokes in this and the weirdness of the tone and pace were so tightly calibrated. I think the audience we were all like, "What the hell?" at first, and then just laughing almost continuously for the runtime of this film, which is only 12 minutes, and it's pretty much nonstop raucous from there. Highly recommended.
I feel like I thought I knew where this was going when you started the plot summary, and then you talked about the gore effects, and I realized I was very wrong.
Okay. Yeah.
So now I'm very curious. And what's the title of that one?
Gender Reveal by Mo Matten. The second was Anyway je pisse assis by Zach Slattery, which a title the movie doesn't translate, but means Anyway I Piss Sitting Down. Quebecois film about these three queer friends going back to their hometown. One of whom is a trans man who's recently had top surgery and is extremely nervous about going back there post-transition. And the others are his best friend is very excited, possibly his boyfriend too. The relationship is not 100% clear. But is very excited about going back and reliving all the great memories. And we grew up in this beautiful, idyllic country town. And our lead, the trans one, is feels like exactly the opposite about this. And they just had a completely different experience growing up in this town. It's a contemplative road trip film, very good dynamics, and again, the chemistry between the three leads in this one is once again really, really strong. And just sort of a short road trip movie, culminating in them returning to this lake, and our lead taking a swim for the first time, and this kind of a really meaningful moment for him in this place that he's returning to there. Just a well-made film all around. Don't have a lot more to say about it than that. It is also only 13 minutes, right. so well worth your time there. And the third is Coming Out by Jasmine J. Johnson. Coming is spelled Cuming, and this is another, I think, kind of riotously funny little comedy at a great clip here. It is about a young woman, ambiguously mid-20s, I think, who is preparing for, at the beginning, going to a drugstore to get, in the most awkward way possible, to get condoms and a pregnancy test and a morning after pill for what seems like her first one-night stand as she's presenting it, and then gearing everything up for this guy. He gets there. He's really handsome. They have like an awkward little wine sit down, and then the moment they get on the couch, she like touches his crotch, and he comes immediately with premature ejaculation, and it's really awkward and horrible. And they're working through this for a moment. They have this huge argument, and there are a bunch of misunderstandings with each other. He's about to storm out, leaving, and then they both something sort of happens, and they start talking to each other, and she reveals that it becomes clear that she's actually bisexual. She just came out of a very long and intense romantic relationship with the love of her life, a woman who she's been dating since they were, I think, in college, probably together, and is trying to process this, and wanted to get with a man in the course of this. And they wind up sort of having this really beautiful bonding session, like helping each other, both working out through this stuff in a way that is just, it's very funny. It's very poignant. It's great performances from the lead. I feel bad I haven't been shouting out most of them, but this is Jalen Barron, Alicia Pascual Pena, and Joaquin Guillory. It also has like a really cool animation style over most of the film, where constantly their faces are being intercut with like paper cutouts and drawn and scribbled versions of them. There's lots of colorful things going on in the screen, and the sound effects, and that sort of I regret to say Scott Pilgrim tradition, because that's the first thing that comes to mind, even though many, many films have done this and before Scott Pilgrim, but it's doing a lot of that dynamic animated interplay with the live action, much more so than something like Scott Pilgrim, I would say. And again, was laughing almost continuously for huge stretches, and really, really impressed with the acting in all of these, and in this one in particular. So yeah, highly recommend all three films, especially Gender Reveal.
Cool. And so these are all, I assume, new films, and this was like they're in their festival circuit right now?
Yes, a few have premiered at other circuits. Some of them are premiering at this one in Provincetown, and some have been at Tribeca, I think, already. But hopefully you'll have the chance to see them. Anybody who goes to their local film festival, especially queer film festivals, would be very likely to show these three, I think.
All right, excellent. Yeah, I'm currently not near any local film festivals, queer or otherwise, but I will certainly keep an eye out. They sound fun, especially that first one. Definitely sounds very much up my alley. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. What about you, Gavin? What are you going to be bringing to the table this day?
Right. Well, I'm going to break with recent alternate ending tradition and talk about older films. I guess older in the sense they're not new releases. The first one is okay. So I'm going to talk about two shorter films, right? Cumulatively 60 minutes. So the first one's only 5 minutes long. And the day of recording is the 16th of June. It won't be the day you're hearing this, but this is Bloomsday. And every Bloomsday, I watch this nice animated film by Tim Booth from 1998. It's called Ulyss, ULYS, and it is an abridged retelling of James Joyce's book Ulysses, which is about all the events that transpired on June 16th, 1904, which is when the book takes place. And it is an animated film. Basically, it's like a drunk Irishman trying to recount the story of Ulysses while there's all sorts of morphing animation and rather not for children, I should say. And it is miles and miles better than either of the two feature-length adaptations of Ulysses that you might find, and a great companion to the book. If you are not familiar with Ulysses, you might get less out of it. It will bewilder you, but maybe that makes it better. Recommended with substances. And that's just basically a shout out. It is available online at the Irish Film Institute archive player. There is a link to it in my most recent review. I've reviewed it 4 times, each time on June 16th. The main film I want to bring today is one that was assigned to me for my column, and it is called Joshua and the Promised Land, which is also, you can also watch it for free online on YouTube. It's about 50 minutes long, and it is the passion project of a man allegedly named Jim Lyon. I'm very skeptical about this because, like, it's a biblical story of Joshua. And in fact, there's a frame narrative where, like, a little kid who's being ignored by his parents is taken back in time to the I guess the Iron Age, the pre-Bronze Age, as the Israelites are leaving Egypt and marching toward the Promised Land, and he takes possession of the body of Joshua, son of Nun, who is the aide-de-camp of Moses and his successor. And it goes through all of the most genocidal parts of the Old Testament. And some of he's a lion. I mean, everyone's an anthropomorphic animal. So Joshua he's a lion. Yes, I forgot to tell you. Oh, you saw it. You must have looked at the screenshot.
Oh, God is the only reaction one can have to seeing a single frame of this film.
Right. So he's an anthropomorphic lion. No clothes, no tail. And that's why I'm skeptical. I mean, maybe the director is named Jim Lyon, so obviously his family should be lions. The Israelites, each of the different tribe members are some kind of animal, and it took Jim Lyon 4 years to make this film, and it does not show. It's like the shoddiest computer animation that you could get from like it would look shoddy in like 1983.
Yes, yes, it would have.
And it was made concurrently with the release of the Lord of the Rings films and, Pixar's early masterpieces. And
I want to be clear here. The images I'm looking at and the single scenes, these characters do not even have paws. They have like lumpen geometry, just like misshapen polygons on.
Right, so it's special. The animation is special. The music is special, and the voice acting is very special. And it's attempts to try to impart, I guess, problematic Aesop's. Joshua the young lion is aided by an angel that looks like a dog, and he calls himself the best friend, but he also has a long comic name. It says Christopher Andrew Eugene Bazioni, and I was wondering what the fuck. But I realized it's almost an acrostic for Caleb, which is a character from the Torah, who is Joshua's friend, and is also the Hebrew word for dog. So there's some... That's as clever as it gets, but the real Caleb is also a character in the film, and he's a tiger. So
why?
I feel like I honestly do not know. And then you have it deals with rough moral questions, like the fact that the Promised Land already has people living in it, and the best friend talks Joshua through why it's okay to kill them all, you should watch it for yourself. I'll be writing about it soon in greater detail, along with another film that was assigned to me, which is also wretched, but not quite as special as this one. And it pairs very nicely with Dingo Pictures' Prince for Egypt. It picks off almost exactly where that film ends.
Okay, are you going to mention the Joshua and the Promised Land reanimated project at all?
I have seen it. Okay, so the original... Saber Spark is one of those people. So like he's an internet film critic, But he's different from the others in that he makes sarcastic and comic videos on the YouTube.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that's very special. Actually, I have
Bold, are we?
Well, he did champion rock and roll, which is always a good thing. I will appreciate anyone who says good things about that. I could first consult him because there's 2 versions of that film, and I wanted to better understand that. And he has also seen Delgo, so I will. And made a video about it, and I will spot anyone who has gone through Delgo. They have a certain line of credit. But he kind of put this film on the map. He was searching, for the worst animated films, and he made the exaggerated claim that this is the worst. But because Dingo Pictures exists, but if Dingo Pictures didn't exist, it would be competitive. It would be a competitive choice. There are pretty. This is a world in which Food Fight exists. But competitive. It would be competitive. And he had hired, he wanted to do this fan project with different animators who followed him. So it's every scene is done by a different animator and a different animation style, and it's quite interesting actually. I mean, because it uses the same soundtrack as the original. It's shorter, blessedly. It's like they trim out some parts. As a fan project, I thought it was interesting. I couldn't really rate it because of how derivative. I mean, derivative in like a literal sense. It's not an independent project, but there are some fun visual gags, and I laughed out loud a lot. And like Ulyss, it kind of requires knowledge of the source material. Otherwise, you're going to be bewildered beyond belief. And they cut out my favorite part of the original, and that's the only bad thing I'll say about that. I can't even tell you what that part is because you need to discover it.
So you, what I'm gathering is that this is not going to dethrone the VeggieTales Josh and the Big Wall as the most competent filmed adaptation, or animated adaptation of the Joshua story.
No, I don't really know VeggieTales all that well, but it can't be worse than this. Like, there's no delicate way to deal with the conquest of the Promised Land, but this is definitely the wrong way to do it. This film. I imagine the VeggieTales with the singing. I think they're French for some reason. The Citizens of Jericho.
Yes,
are
French. They're French peas. That's why.
I don't really appreciate that. But it has to have less. It must have less bloodlust in this film.
Oh, significantly.
Yeah, no, I'm just skipping through, looking at various images that I'm finding in a hurry online, and it is. I just rewatched Food Fight, not more than 48 hours before we're recording this episode, and I am. Because I was going to call you out on that, and then I'm looking at these images and I'm like, well, these are much worse. It looks like a feature-length version of the Money for Nothing music video. And I am astonished by what's in front of me. I also see that it's available for free on the Internet Archive, so that's my evening.
Also on YouTube. I found it on YouTube, so... Okay. Anyway, there's you have options.
And I did want to just quickly follow up. Thank you for bringing that short adaptation of Ulysses to my attention, because I have never wanted to see a film adaptation because it sounds like such an insane, stupid idea in the first place, but doing it as a 5-minute weird little comic thing seems exactly the way to do it. So I very much appreciate bringing that to my attention, and I'm going to put a pin in whether I appreciate you bringing Joshua and the Promised Land to my attention until I've had a chance to. There's like a tiger or something, but it's like, just looks like it has liquid mercury melted all over its face. It's one of the images I'm looking at right now.
That sounds akin to the mental experience of watching this movie, if I had to guess.
At least Jim Lyon did. There are deleted scenes, so he did know to edit some stuff out. Great. You don't have. I still haven't watched it yet. There's a deleted scene with Rahab the prostitute. You could tell why I edited it out, but the fact that there's animation for it already speaks to.
According to the DVD cover that I found, that was included as a special feature.
Okay. It's certainly special. The whole thing is a special feature.
Well, thank you very much for throwing that in my path. And now it's my decision whether I'm going to swerve right into it or not. I am going to shift gears rather substantially, I hope. I'm actually going to be bringing to the table a film from one of our Patreons. This is a request by Dan Prestwich. A film that I've been probably long overdue for catching up with. 2018's, released in the United States in 2019, Dragged Across Concrete, which is the third and at this point in time most recent film directed by S. Craig Zahler, which Zahler's whole deal... I think we all probably know who he is, but it's been a little while since he was in the limelight, so it's worth recapping. He is a filmmaker making kind of neo-grindhouse films that are really particularly violent and troubling. And starting with his second film, and certainly running into this film, there's also a sense in which he has heard what film Twitter thinks about politics and film and wants to make film Twitter have a really bad migraine. So this is a film in which Mel Gibson, 2018 era Mel Gibson, and Vince Vaughn play a pair of abusive cops on leave for unreasonable brutality who need money for their various reasons, and they discover a psychotic German bank robber played by Thomas Kretschmann, who is, of course, who you would cast to play a psychotic German bank robber, who they've decided they can sort of do their job as cops and also get lots of money if they find him and steal from him. Meanwhile, there's a secondary plot, or even sort of a parallel plot, rather, in which Henry Johns and a character named Biscuit, played by Tory Kittles and Michael J. White, two poor black men from the city that this takes place. It's very specifically not clarified what city it is, although it sure does seem like Los Angeles. They are also in desperate need of money, and they have, over their misgivings, decided to take up the offer to be the crazy Germans' getaway drivers. So you have these racist, brutal cops on one side, you have these dirt poor black criminals on the other side, and what will happen when these people are all put into the pressure cooker of various shootouts and bank robbings and are shaken up. And I will say, my take on Zahler, sort of in general, I think he is a provocateur. I don't think he really cares about the politics of his films as such. My actual take, I think he is a liberal, because I don't think a conservative would be this good at micro-targeting what buttons to push. But I do think first and foremost he wants to get people rattled and make them feel certain ways. All of which is to say, I don't care. Like, that's not the reason I'm watching movies. I come to a movie like this because I hear, okay, a lot of desperate, probably very morally deficient people who are going to experience tremendously violent events during a series of bank robbings. That's a movie for me. I can certainly get into that. And I really, really loved Zahler's first feature, which was Bone Tomahawk, a ridiculously violent neo-Western. Didn't love his follow-up and also his first film with Vince Vaughn as much. That was Brawl in Cell Block 99. And I think Brawl in Cell Block 99 and Dragged Across Concrete suffer for the same exact reason, which is that they are both really, really long. Dragged Across Concrete, and this is why it's taken me 7 years to watch it, or 6 years to watch it, really. Dragged Across Concrete is 2 hours and 39 minutes long. And
wow,
that's just so much time for
a Grindhouse type movie.
Tip by Todd Grindhouse. A Grindhouse movie should be what, 80 minutes?
And it's not I think that's part of the provocation, right? Because it's one thing to be like, here's my grimy little throwback. It's 70 minutes long. He's like, here's my grimy little throwback. You're going to spend the day watching it. So, I mean, he's provoking me personally. Because I'm exactly the person who wants to watch this. And then I see that running time. I'm like, oh, fuck you. So I can't be excited that he's provocative in certain ways and be angry that he's provocative in others just because they're the ways that get me personally offended. But it is very long. And
I think that was the biggest problem with Brawl, which was 132 minutes. And I felt like about 30 of those were more than I wanted or needed out of that movie.
Like Bone Tomahawk is not a short movie either. It still breaks 2 hours, but it feels well used.
Yes.
In Brawl, it's way too long. This movie is too long, although I do think it uses the time better than Brawl. It is very much it feels like his version of Heat. And Heat is this 3 hour cops and robbers epic. So 3 hour cops and robbers epic is not something that's off the table. I do think it's too long. I think that is just absolutely a problem, because it is this movie that's trying to be really nasty. It adopts the worldview that people will in general make the choice that is most self-serving and cruel, which is a lot to sit with for 2.5 hours, but not something that I'm like inclined necessarily to say, oh, no, that's not right. We can't do art about that. but it is a long sit with these people, and I don't think it sympathizes with any characters in particular. And this is part of why I think he is just trying to provoke. I don't think he's trying to make a political claim. But so we're spending a lot of time with characters who are just not very pleasant company. That being said, I do think it is astonishingly well made. I think I'd say all four of the leads. I mean, I know that I also mentioned Thomas Kretschmann. He's in it a lot. He's not really a lead the way that Gibson, Vaughn, Kittles, and White are. But I'd say all four of the leads are giving very strong performances. Vaughn, certainly the least of the four, but I also went into this film liking Vaughn less than Michael Jai White or Mel Gibson, and I don't really know Tory Kittles from anybody. But it's well acted in that you're seeing these characters making decisions that make sense to them in the moment and feel motivated by who they are as people, even though you can see coming from a mile away how these decisions are going to result in just a ton of death and suffering. Very beautifully shot, which goes a long way with me, and certainly I think even more now than it would have in 2019, given how many films, especially films that predominantly take place at night, as this one does, are really content just to let night mean we turned off all the lights. Here's a flashlight that we're poking at the actors' faces. Beautiful, beautiful nighttime city cinematography in this movie.
Thank God. Yeah. That's lighting is just it is a gift from heaven these days.
And it does the thing that I love movies set in cities doing that we don't get to do a ton anymore, and even in 2018 didn't really, because we don't have sodium vapor lights. But it bathes everything in that kind of corrosive yellow of like cheap lighting. And I just think that's such a great look for these sorts of very grody, miserable, nihilistic films. So looks great. I actually don't feel... I feel like at a certain point, Zahler realized his brand was guy who does really excessive gore effects, which is the point of Bone Tomahawk and works in Brawl in Cell Block 99. I kind of feel like this film, it felt a little bit like I guess just a reflex. There's two scenes that I think are really shocking. One is a convenience store robbery, which is where we first meet this German. Incredibly suspenseful scene, really just nerve-wracking, and the like shocking, pointless violence of it worked really well. But the big showcase is this bank robbery where we see hands getting shot off, we see heads exploding, we see a castration happen, and it felt... I don't want to say excessive, because I mean, obviously that's kind of the point of it. It felt mindlessly excessive in a way. Like it's the sequence that I don't know the film needs, even though it's clearly the sequence that the film thought was going to be like the thing people wanted to talk about after they saw it. And I don't know, it felt like Zahler knew a little bit too much that he has a brand. I guess that's kind of how I feel about it in general. It feels
too
like he knows he has
self-aware.
a brand. His brand is maybe a reactionary making provocative films, and his brand is violent movies. And it feels like he's leaning into that in a way that is slightly tiresome to me. I still mostly liked it. I'm probably going to be at 3.5 stars with this, which is where I was at with Brawl in Cell Block 99. And honestly, it's a 4-star if it cuts that running time down. But I do think it doesn't feel organic to me in a way that Bone Tomahawk did. So glad I finally caught up with it. So thank you, Dan, for forcing my hand on that. Going to continue looking forward to whatever Zahler comes out with. I know he has a film in development right now. Just really, really hope that someone who loves him sits him down and explains that these movies were designed for 80-minute running times.
Yeah, I feel similarly about Zahler in general. Do you? I think maybe just slightly cooler in that I find his films misanthropic and morally repulsive, but also really masterfully made in certain parts. Bone Tomahawk I did think was head and shoulders above Brawl, which I still enjoyed Brawl despite the runtime. So maybe this sounds like a movie to throw on in a very particular mood with a long afternoon.
You need to be in a certain mood. You need to have the time, and it is misanthropic. And I mean, I'm enough of a misanthrope that I'm not bothered by it. But I'm certainly not going to like go out and say everyone should see this. It's not a friendly movie. It's certainly not a fun movie, I don't think. But that gets us through our movie roundtable. So again, thank you to Dan for supporting the site through Patreon and getting that request. Speaking of Patreon, this is just your friendly reminder. If you want to support the show, support the site, very easy to do that. Hop over to our Patreon link. It's in the show notes. It's on the sidebar. Right now, we are full up on the 2 tiers that get you requests on the podcast or get you reviews written. But we have had a couple people recently sign up at lower tiers, so I just want to shout them out and thank them real quick. Joining us at the crew head level, which gets you access to classic movie reviews a week in advance, which right now there's a ton of classic movie reviews because I'm both wrapping up some outstanding Patreon requests and the Summer of Blood 2025 edition is currently running out. So a lot of stuff that you'll get a 1 week preview of right now. Joining us at that level is Joe Montel. And joining us at the production assistant level is Zach Rayner. Thank you very much, both Joe and Zach, for supporting the show. So with the round table then behind us, let's go ahead and talk about what we are here for this week, and that is a preview of the films of July 2025. Anything look exciting to anybody? No? Great. That's the episode, everybody.
Hey!
No.
We love the summer, folks.
We do have, we have some movies. So should we dive right in, or does anyone want to give their sneak previews? I've clearly given mine.
But I think, I'm wondering if a lot of independent releases, had they seen the trailers for the big blockbuster movies, they might not have felt so antsy about avoiding July opening dates. I'd maybe a little more confident in competing with the big ticket items because, wow.
I think there are three of the wide releases are sequels that have the original's titles.
Yeah, a bunch of those.
One of the most annoying trend, and it's for 3 different genres of movies. Usually it's a horror movie thing, and now it's spread. The virus has spread to superhero films, which is kind of disturbing, and children's films. So there we go. This teaser. Which ones could they be?
Exactly.
And so many direct-to-streaming releases, and a lot of them being Netflix will probably get a token single weekend release in a few cities, right? And then
I would imagine
nothing else.
But yeah, so let's go ahead and...
Caleb, you say that like it's a bad thing. Do you really want to see The Old Guard 2 in cinemas?
Fair enough. Fair enough in this case.
Well, we're going to follow the pattern that Brennan set up for the last time, so I just want to thank Brennan for helping this be a little bit more of a streamlined process. We are going to talk about the wide releases, and then we're each going to pick one of the limited releases to look back on, just so we don't have to go through, again, all of those... Netflix and whatnot. I assume all 3 of us are clearly going to be there opening day on Old Guard 2, so we don't need to talk about that. But let's go ahead and start with July 2nd. That is the Wednesday of that week because the Friday is Independence Day in the United States. So they're going to try to get some 5-day weekend money for the apparently long-awaited return of the Jurassic World franchise, which hasn't been that long since we had the last one, but Jurassic World Rebirth.
Apparently it takes place 5 years after the last one. Has it been 5 years since Dominion?
It's been 2 years since Dominion.
Right. Okay. So that's, there was a longer stretch of time between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. I mean, what's going on here?
Right. And the first Jurassic World, which I think sucked, at least was how long has it been since a Jurassic Park movie? And now I also want to register there are more Jurassic World movies than there are Jurassic Park movies, even though it's all the same franchise. And that bothers me. That actually bothers me quite a bit. But at least when Jurassic World came out 10 years ago in 2015, at least it was this is nostalgia. You haven't seen one of these in a while. It's been less time between Dominion and Rebirth than it was between Fallen Kingdom and Dominion. And those 2 were direct sequels. And
Dominion was such a burning down of any shred of good faith I had left for the series at this point. Just like an utterly... How could a movie be more packed with meaningless CG action and be more boring at the same time? I don't know. But apparently, I guess that wasn't a widely held reception to it. People are clamoring for another. Maybe it's just that it made $1 billion in global box office that predetermines it. But it seems like these movies cannot fail on the basis of quality. There's no floor to it, as far as I can tell. Is that just why we keep getting them?
I couldn't work up any enthusiasm to see Dominion, and I can't say I like the Jurassic Park franchise. I love the original to death. And so does my daughter, and
it's great.
Yeah, but it's just the first Jurassic World, the nostalgia thing, I think is a pretty dumb movie. But I had a good time watching it the one time I did. And I just did not want any more Jurassic Park films. And I certainly didn't, when I read that it was mostly about giant flying bugs,
It's about
I thought
locusts.
I thought it was a joke, and it wasn't. When I realized it wasn't a joke, I was like, I'm not going to see a movie about locusts. I want a movie about dinosaurs. Like what the hell is wrong? But at least this movie looks like it's about dinosaurs. I mean, it
That
looks
is
like
that is the single thing that is giving me any level of hope. Yes, it is. It is going to be a movie about dinosaurs and not, in theory, about locusts and clones.
and
So it can't be the worst one.
It does. I mean, like the plot is basically the Lost World, and not the Lost World Jurassic Park, but the Lost World from 100 years ago, the 1925 film, which is quite it's epochal, right? It was the King Kong guy showing his stuff for the first time. Oh, why can't I remember the name? Willis O'Brien did the dinosaurs in that one. Yes, and they were very cool looking dinosaurs. They appear in all the PBS documentaries I watched as a kid. But looking at the trailer of this, it looks too like. Now that I've shown my daughter Jurassic Park, I think about it in terms of like, could I take my daughter to see this movie? And I don't think I can. It looks too scary and violent. And that gives me pause.
That's what you want out of your dinosaur adventure. You want it to be too frightening for children.
Well, it's like, I mean, I'd rather want her. I mean, I showed her after Jurassic Park. I needed to find more dinosaur movies. I wasn't going to show her the sequels to Jurassic Park. So we watched The Valley of Gwangi, which
if you want to stick with the sweet spot of both dinosaurs and Steven Spielberg, what about We're Back?
There's always that.
Tim, I have actually seen We're Back. Unlike you, unlike
you have not, Tim.
I have never. One day.
Oh, okay. I have like I don't know how many outstanding requests from my membership over the years. You're going to get a message in PayPal about, or not in Patreon very soon, I think, about We're Back, a dinosaur story.
I watched We're Back explicitly so I could determine whether it would be good for my daughter, and I said no. That's just like too weird. It is exquisitely good, bad film and very short.
But no, I just to wrap my thoughts up on this, like, there's one thing, like, a Jurassic Park movie. At this point, we've seen the dinosaurs. Just at this point, put the dinosaurs in the city. That's all that we need to have one of these that I think is at least doing something.
How have they still not done that more than the second movie did for like 10 minutes? We had the end
of the second movie, and then the fifth movie put them in a haunted house, and that's the extent of them not being a jungle, and now we're back to they're in a jungle.
Well, didn't Dominion have them like driving around Valletta with dinosaurs everywhere?
Oh, that's
kind
right.
of, yeah, a little bit.
And just like that almost got my butt in seats because I did like my honeymoon is in Malta, so it's like, combine two things I really like is Malta and dinosaurs, but not locusts, not with the locusts in the plot.
Maybe it's because Godzilla 1998 beat them back in the day to a bunch of raptors and. New York City.
Yeah, well, that's it's not a foolproof concept putting dinosaurs in cities.
We should,
Sure.
So
let's move on. I get the impression no one on this podcast cares about Jurassic World 7. So let's look at July 11th, where we have, as it turns out, a movie that has exactly the same title as a previous movie in the same franchise, and that would be the new reboot of the DC EU or DCCU?
DC
or DCU.
I think the latter. I think you had it correct on.
I don't know. It's a new continuity for a DC franchise that wants to be the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It is starring none other than Superman. This one by James Gunn, who is going to be the overseer of DC's Cinematic Universe. What do we think about this one?
Well, my takeaway from watching the trailer is that they should never have retired John Williams Superman theme.
Clearly.
Because that gave me the shivers, just, I mean, that alone. But as for the film itself, I don't know. You guys speak first.
I've seen a few of the trailers at this point, and the first one definitely had the most tingles for me, mostly from the John Williams theme and hitting some of the... It looked like it had some color again too, maybe still a little bit, overly toned, but it wasn't like fully desaturated like a lot of recent DCEU stuff. My main concern, I'm okay with Gunn having the reins on this, but my main concern from one of the earlier trailers was that it seems so overstuffed. It's like, this is a Superman origin story. This is a Superman reckoning with his role in public life and politics story. This is also an entire Justice League and Super Friends movie, because we're going to have an unbelievable number of those characters showing up in the movie, and apparently in prominent action scenes and things, which seems like to me a lot to do in a reboot that is attempting to be, Superman singular again here.
All of which was covered by previous movies.
Right. But, we're starting over, and now we've got to rush to reintroduce the entire canon of our Justice League. And then also the latest trailer, which I think is a good trailer, with Lois interviewing him about, his role as a political actor and what it means for Superman to be interfering around the world, and people wanting accountability. And this is not the first time that Superman movies have tried to tackle those very thorny questions about doing a modern day Superman. I don't think it has ever been tackled well in movies at all. It's been a disaster when they've tried to go that line. It's interesting. It could be interesting, but it seems to be really difficult for filmmakers. And I don't know about, this one in particular. We'll see. I'm curious to see how it goes, because I think the strongest one, I think probably on this cast, I'm guessing we all agree the original Superman is by far the best screen depiction we've ever had, and one of the best superhero movies in my mind.
Oh, for sure. I certainly think that.
Yeah, and both versions of the second have their merits, and I think the thing the original Superman does really well and importantly is it elides a lot of those issues and focuses solely on Superman as an avatar of goodness and of moral clarity, and there is a messianic purity to his character that can have really troubling implications, but are mostly well avoided in the original Superman in favor of what he represents in terms of literally a Christ-like figure in that film, and in just this aura of kindness and of desire to make the world a better place. That is one of the things that makes that film so endearing. Anyway, I've talked too long. What do you think, Tim?
I will say this, of the wide releases, this is probably the one that has the most runway to actually end up surprising me and impressing me. James Gunn being the authorial voice of an entire universe does not feel like a great idea to me, but I do like all three of the Guardians of the Galaxy's movies. So like his hit rate in comic books works for me. Do I want a Superman that's like a Guardians? I sure don't. But I don't think that's what I'm getting from the trailer, so that gives me some level of hope. I do like, as you said, that it at least has colors, but it also feels from the trailers, and trailers aren't the movie, but it feels like the color grading
it's a little off
wrong. And I'm looking, the footage is playing in front of my eyeballs right this second while I'm trying to describe it. It's simultaneously like it's oversaturated in the midtones, but undersaturated in the highlights. Maybe I don't even know what to describe what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
It looks strange, and I don't know. It's going to be kind of weird to sit with that. I don't think again, trailers, who can say? The cast is not there for me based on this trailer. David Corenswet is the new Superman. I don't know who that person is. He does not appear to me to have presence in a way that when Chris Reeve walks out as Superman, you're just like, there's Superman.
He is him.
I do think Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor is a bit of casting that I'm on board with.
Agreed.
It's the only piece of casting that I'm like excited about.
Yeah, I would like to have a good Lex Luthor. I did not particularly like Gene Hackman's portrayal of Lex, and maybe that's because I grew up with the animated Superman from the 90s, which had a very different portrayal of Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Hackman thought he was above the role too. You can tell.
Yeah, it's definitely the weakest part of the first film, anyway. I would say
it's like a conniving mad genius, but also someone. I had the idea that Lex Luthor doesn't lose his temper easily, and film Lex Luthor seems to do that a little too often. And this Nicholas Hoult, he's over enunciating some words to show how mad he is at Superman. It's like, I don't know. I really wanted to know who was playing Lois Lane, so I've looked her up, and I'm keeping my eyes on Rachel Brosnahan. Sure. And maybe I'll see. I mean, I'm really tired of Cape shit in all its incarnations, but I might see this one. I definitely won't be seeing the other superhero film coming out this month, but maybe this one.
We'll hold on to that. That's 2 weeks in the future. But let's go ahead and skip on to July the 18th, the only weekend that doesn't have like a draining looking mega budget popcorn movie, so in that sense, I'm excited. As for what it does have,
On the other hand,
on the other hand, I think the one that we will have the least to say about, so let's just clear it out of the way, will be Smurfs.
Smurfs. Holy fucking shit! I mean, what the? This is
I'm not watching this trailer. I'm not doing
The
it.
Smurfs are the reason that we haven't annexed Belgium because we don't want that. Like they can keep the Smurfs. And
So-
like I looked at the trailer, I was like, "How's this different from the one they did like 10 years ago?" When they go to the
wait.
real world. That's like it's the same premise. It's the same premise.
They are advertising. The marketing is basically saying one thing. It is saying one only thing. You want to see this movie because this is the movie where Smurfette is voiced by Rihanna.
They're
And
wrong.
that is 100% of the ad campaign. So I watched this trailer in front of Mission Impossible with my partner, and he leaned over to me during the trailer to say, how many different animation styles are they using? Because there's this like cell shaded, looks sort of like the Peanuts movie from a bunch of years ago where the characters are kind of flat and it looks like their faces are drawn on. But there's also photorealism for some reason. And then they also have to like come up with a different thing so they mix and match with the characters that looks more cartoony.
Oh,
It looks
yeah.
like a fucking mess.
When the camera's panning around the tree, like circling, it looks so weird. It's like a bad video game cutscene.
I'm
angle.
sure this movie had like money put on it, and it was directed by Chris Miller, who's an ex DreamWorks guy. This movie looks like it cost $100. It looks so awful. I don't know.
Are the Smurfs still a thing? Like, do the kiddies still? Like,
No.
Is there like it's a cartoon from the '80s? It's from our childhood. And
American
it's some
children
kind of-
do not watch the
American,
Smurfs.
you're the one who's next door to Belgium. You tell
Yeah,
us.
but it's
if
just
it's
I
still-
don't even know if they make Smurf BDs anymore. They're comics, it's a Belgian comic book. But I don't see Smurf stuff. It's not like Tintin where it doesn't go away. Inexplicable popularity, and this is their third attempt in 15 years at making a Smurfs film. I don't know why. I just don't know why.
Yeah, because some poor who's distributing this. I need to see who actually owns the Smurfs rights right now. The person releasing this company in the United States is Paramount. Oh, Paramount. That's why. That's why. Paramount just needs IP, man.
Yeah.
Whatever
Backing
you
it
got.
up.
So that's Smurfs. Let's move on. Unless anyone else has any other shots they want to take.
No.
So
Smurf that.
do we want to talk about Eddington, or I Know What You Did Last Summer?
I know you did last summer because it's yet another, like Smurfs, it's yet another film that shares a title with a previous entry in the exact same franchise.
Which unlike Superman and Smurfs is actually a sequel, not a reboot.
Okay.
Which I was very surprised to learn because it does share the same title.
Hard to know. I have not seen any of the films of this franchise, in part because Tim, you said it was really, the originals are very dumb.
I
don't
have
care
not
for
seen
the
them
prequel.
either.
I will actually say, if I had to pick, if you were to threaten me with a fishing hook to the throat and say you have to see one wide release this month, which one is it going to be? This would probably be the one I would pick because there's ample room for it to be the best one of the franchise because it's not a good series.
Nowhere to go but up.
Pretty much. I don't want to say nowhere to go but up because there was certainly room to go down from the first I Know What You Did Last Summer to I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, which is distinctly a worse film. I don't know. It's a slasher. There are certain among us who go see the slashers when they come out. I still haven't seen Final Destination, whatever, though, so I'm clearly behind on my horror movies. Well, that only leaves Eddington, the consensus pick for the worst film in competition at Cannes. Ari Aster's new movie about the COVID-19 pandemic.
What is he? Can we reflect on what the hell is Ari Aster's deal?
We can try.
I mean, his project selection. So Eddington is, as best as I can tell, a movie about a sheriff during the COVID pandemic who goes absolutely nuts in the way that so many reactionary sheriffs across the country did, and things escalate from there. But he's also the star of the film, the protagonist, as best as I can tell. This Yeah, as he goes up against Pedro Pascal, who is the apparently either centrist or liberal mayor of this place running for re-election in the course of the pandemic.
Yeah, I don't know. Those of you listening to this podcast, if you listened to last week's episode of Bride of Alternate Ending, you already heard Brennan and I take a couple pot shots at this movie, and I feel about it now as I did then. I'm not averse to hearing a filmmaker grapple with the ideas that I think this movie is going to grapple with, but I don't want to hear Ari Aster grapple with anything at all. And like, I still haven't seen Beau is Afraid, and I'm sure at some point I will see Beau is Afraid, but like, I loved Hereditary, I liked Midsommar.
Same.
But then, without ever having seen it a second time, Midsommar just aged in my mind so badly, and I don't want to hear anything that he has to say on any topic. I feel as well, especially like so self-consciously and provocatively, the first COVID retrospectives. Like, I don't want it. I don't want it from you, especially. So I don't know. I'm not going to see this thing unless it ends up getting awards attention, which I don't think it will. I'm not going to bother seeing this movie.
Yeah, I mean, this would be purely on the basis of if you're not going to see it and be recommending it, and nobody else on Alternate Ending does, then I will be unlikely to check it out without that. Somebody needs to tell me it's better than it looks. Yeah, how about you, Gavin? Are you interested in seeing Eddington at all?
Right. Okay. No. Well, you know what? Actually, a little bit, because I had not seen Ari Aster's first two films because I heard Hereditary was good. No, I heard Hereditary was good, and then I looked at the Wikipedia page and I read the plot summary for some reason. Oh. And then so I thought, well, never mind. And then his second film came out, and I thought, well, this has to be different from The Wicker Man in some way. And then I read the plot summary on Wikipedia, and it was not different from The Wicker Man. And then I just saw, I didn't make the same mistake with Beau's Afraid. But that was a mistake because I hated Beau's Afraid, like a lot. I was just apoplectic for the entire 3 hours, and it kept making me angrier and angrier. But for some reason, I saw the trailer for this, and looks nothing like Beau's Afraid, which is good. And I'm vaguely intrigued because I sense it will be a clusterfuck. And I am enticed by those. Beau's Afraid was a clusterfuck, so I can't say I regretted watching it, even though I hated it with every fiber of my being. Because you don't see movies like that very often. So maybe I'll go see this. Mm-hmm. But that depends. I don't know. How long is it?
It is 2.5 hours long.
Oh, that is shorter than Beau's Afraid. That's much.
True.
So yeah. that's looking up. If it was 3 hours, I probably would have said no.
Gavin, you should at least just watch Hereditary. It is really good. Even if you have read the plot summary at this point. And I mean, if you like Rosemary's Baby, it's a good homage to that. Despite
I haven't seen Rosemary's Baby either.
My God.
I'm sorry, I have a lot of blind spots. I'm getting a lot of crap from it on the Discord as well. So that's all the films I haven't seen. So that's which is unfair because I've seen Joshua and the Promised Land. Okay, so
that's very fair.
Yeah, your priorities
you
are in the right
deserve a lot
place.
of points for that. Yeah. All right. Well,
somebody has to.
Well, let's go ahead and trudge forward to the final Friday of the month, July 25th. And of course, the biggest film that weekend is going to be Pete Davidson in The Purge, Part 5, or whatever it is. Now, this is a movie called The Home. Pete Davidson is a guy who works at a nursing home. Does anybody care at all?
No.
It's horror.
No.
I mean, an original horror film idea, but then they said, like, from the director, the creators of, and they said The Purge. It's like, oh, that's the wrong choice. And then it said from the producers of, and I was like, ooh, and it said Halloween. I thought, oh. These are supposed to be things that entice me to see the film, but it's like they don't want me to see the film. And I didn't realize that actor was Pete Davidson. Now I definitely don't want to see it.
I was going to say, there was no amount of enticement that was going to get me into the theater once I saw Pete Davidson's name, so... But we do have another film. I believe it's some manner of superhero picture. How do we feel?
Some manner.
I think eventually,
I have reached full checked out of the MCU.
This is a reboot, right? They're starting or
The Fantastic Four are being rebooted within the existing continuity of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
and also not within their. I'm so like I heard various things about the multiverse thing. They're not going to be related to the Fantastic Four in the second Doctor Strange movie,
No,
or are
that
they?
was,
Okay.
That was just a fun gag, and this has nothing to do with that. is my
Okay, because
understanding.
for a while there was talk that they were going to be brought in that sense. Okay, so this is just totally unrelated. It's clearly going for throwback vibes in the trailer, like having them actually say the Fantastic Four in the theme song, and their costumes are very classic Fantastic Four, not doing that darker, hyper modernized MCU thing that they often do with the costume designs for characters. And despite all that, the trailer looks so joyless and airless. What's happening here? Why is it
Why
so
can no one like why
dead?
first of all eventually as I talk in terms of like superhero movie history, the sad superhero movie history, especially the Fantastic Four franchise, eventually people gave up trying to make a Hulk movie, right? As they realized this doesn't work, so let's stop trying. And they haven't learned that lesson with Fantastic Four yet. This is the fifth time making a Fantastic Four movie.
This is the fifth movie, but it is... Wait, no, it is the fifth movie, but only the third continuity. Because they actually did manage to shit out a sequel to the one in 2005.
Right, so 1, 2... It's still the fourth continuity, right? If you count
there's the Corman one that was a
Corman
standalone.
one.
There were the
Then
two...
you have the two
and then there was
Tim,
Fantastic
something or
starring
others.
Michael B. Jordan.
And this is the fourth one.
Sure there was.
The Fantastic Fourth continuity. And I just... are people really nostalgic for the Fantastic Four?
The comic characters, yes, they have a very large fandom. They've
Really?
been inordinately popular for
how
so
old are
many
they?
decades. Getting older because of this movie problem, like or video games for that matter. They there is some fundamental difficulty, it seems, in adapting the Fantastic Four out of the comic book medium.
Here's the thing. There's no difficulty at all because Brad Bird did it and he called it The Incredibles. And
Right.
It's one of the best movies ever made.
You're right. Yeah. So why
can't we just do
can
that?
not be done? Yeah.
Why just
he
do
did
that?
it twice too. If he can remake his own film, so can somebody else.
It should
surely,
not
right?
be this hard to do a Fantastic Four movie. I feel like I've only had one complaint ever about superhero movies, which is you're trying to stuff them into the 2020s, and that's the problem, or the 2010s, or whenever it is. Why not just go back to the 60s, the
Sure.
Jet Age and whatnot? And now I got this, and then I saw the trailer, I'm like, I don't want that at all. I was wrong. Forgive me, God, for foolishly thinking that was going to turn out.
Wait, that's how much I was checked out watching this trailer that I didn't even fully pick up on. It's going back to like the year of their original comic premiere.
It's like set in the 60s, yeah.
Why does it look so? It doesn't look anything like a 60s movie.
Here's
why
why.
did
And
they
here's
do
why I'm not
that?
excited, and here's why I don't even think it's going to be better than the films with Jessica Alba and Ioan Gruffudd from the 2000s. It was directed by Matt Shankman, and I'm about to get really angry because Matt Shankman is the director who did WandaVision. And I watched WandaVision because everyone was like, WandaVision's so good. It's such a good satire TV. It's so good at pastiching TV style. So I watched it. It's like, Matt Shackman does not understand anything at all about the aesthetics of 1960s and 1970s media. And I am so angry at WandaVision and the people who told me it was going to be good because I thought it was awful. I thought it was unwatchable.
Oh, you're going to get comments about that. That's like by far the fan favorite of all the TV shows.
I'm aware. And I just feel like he does not, the specific thing he doesn't know how to do is going back into like old pastiche style. And that's exactly what they hired him to do here. And it's like, it's not going to look right. It's going to look bad.
The color grading is, again, it's so dim. There's so many night scenes in the trailer, and they're all completely inscrutable, underlit. Everything's too dark, even in the bright daylight scenes, of course. The colors are desaturated or saturated in the wrong ways. This is such a pervasive problem, but especially when you're trying to evoke an era.
And I will also say, and Brennan got his chance on his last episode, so now I'm going to take my chance. Pedro Pascal, who has been cast as Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. I don't get him. I don't like him. I don't think he's a good actor. I don't think he's hot. I don't understand why we're living in this Pedro Pascal moment.
I like him. I do find him charming in the right roles, a good actor in the right roles, attractive. But yeah, I don't. His Reed Richards from the trailer. I mean, I can't get excited about anybody in this movie on the basis of what I've seen.
Yeah. So, anyway,
I'm trying to think of something. I'm just trying to think of something interesting to say. But I had no idea this was supposed to take place in the 60s. Nothing about it suggested that. So I concur with Caleb. Pedro Pascal. Pedro Pascal, I know he does this like sad puppy dog face, which I think works in the right role.
Yeah.
The film he was in with Nick Cage is the best part of that, even more so than Nick Cage. But that was
That's true.
That was like that movie. The whole movie was wasted potential though, but not because of those two. And trying to think, I do not have strong feelings for Fantastic Four, like the comics or anything. And I don't know. I don't want this. The MCU has to really work to get me remotely interested in its films anymore, and this didn't work. What first steps? What kind of subtitle is that? Why not just Fantastic Four like all the other films?
So bad.
I mean, unlike Superman, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and Smurfs, they did want you to remember that those movies existed for some reason.
Okay.
All right. Well, so that is the, I would say, uninterrupted wasteland of movies coming out in July. I don't know. I'll see. I might see some of these in theaters. I'll probably mostly just wait till streaming. I think my parents want to see Jurassic World, so I'll probably end up seeing that. What about the limited releases and the streaming films? We kind of touched on those, but do you guys have any titles in there that you think might at least give you something above and beyond what the actual wide releases are?
I know what Tim's going to pick. I think all of us would pick the same one if we had.
Well, we can.
It's just like everyone, like this is like the film of the month for everyone. The alternate ending crew, like anyone. Zombies 4 comes out this month, and everyone wants to.
Obviously,
watch
Disney.
I don't know anyone who doesn't want to watch Zombies 4 or is not excited about it.
Sorry, I haven't been able to get on this hype train. I can't make myself watch the series, but I enjoy listening to all of you enjoying them in their own way.
It will never, like, the first one feels like it's broken Aesop about apartheid. It's just so over the top. And it's never been able to quite recapture that magic. But for some reason, I keep watching. It's like, I don't know, like, I want to spend more time with the characters and see how much they'll stack the cast with useless monster demographics. I can't believe that they went this far without vampires, which are just like prep zombies. And why that isn't the plot. Now that I think about it.
Yeah. Going to aliens before vampires was a stretch.
That is wild.
Probably because it's hard to come up with 3 names that start with the letter V, would be my guess.
Yeah. No, really? Oh, well.
But I will say, since you bring it up, I just want to do a quick plug. Next month, we are so excited. Brendan and I are going to be doing a special episode of Bride of Alternate Ending with Zombies 4 as our subject. We are going to be getting to it hot off the presses, so
nice.
We will not make you wait for our take on that movie. But if not Zombies 4, then Caleb, what are you looking forward to? What could you possibly be looking forward to?
Well, I watched all the trailers on the slate. Nothing really jumped out to me as a must-see, but I am interested and to hear the buzz about. I would just quickly name maybe 40 Acres. It was a decent trailer in some sort of post-apocalyptic world. The name evoking 40 Acres and a Mule from the Civil War, what was being potentially promised to freed slaves. That looks like it could have some gas to cook with. We'll see. And then I would just name. I didn't like the trailer for Cloud very much, but. Kiyoshi Kurosawa is one of my favorite living horror directors and has produced like strong contenders for. Well, he's definitely made like my favorite ghost movie of all time. I also thought Chime last year was excellent, so I will.
Wait, what was that ghost movie?
Oh, it has multiple names, but Circuit or Cairo or I think originally, let's see, Circuit. Sorry, I should know the name
okay.
off.
It's one of your favorite movies, but you do not know what it's called.
It was released in the West as Pulse. And this has happened with so many of Kurosawa films. They have multiple names for the movies. It always confuses me. But Pulse, but the 2001, not the American remake, is one of the most harrowing haunting films I have ever seen. It affected me to my soul.
I have heard that title. Cloud is already out in France, and I did watch the trailer because of that. And I was like Cloud and Chime. Is Chime a shorter film? It's like a 50
Chime is
minute.
only like 40 something minutes. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
they've been released simultaneously just now in France, and they had like this double poster to try to entice people to see it. And I was like, I don't know what you're advertising to me. And so the trailer did not help. I looked at the trailer, I was like, what? So try to sell this to me, Caleb.
Oh, we'll try. Wait, this wasn't what I was going to bring. This was good. Okay, so
sorry.
I was just mentioning that I would see Cloud on that basis, but I didn't see the trailer for Chime, so maybe that was part of the joy of going into Chime, not knowing anything. But that one is about a chef who's sort of teaching a cooking club, and some horrific some of his students start doing horrific things and acting out in inexplicable sudden burst of violence, and it is a movie, and a lot of Kurosawa's movies are about trying to understand what is not understandable in the human mind and psychology, and in grappling with the things that seem insurmountable, the certainty of death, the weight of the weight of all that has come before us. Anyway, I think in general, he's just a really fascinating and accomplished director. Everyone should see Pulse or Circuit, whatever we want to call it. The one I was going to shout out from the slate, I think, was feeling also ambivalent, was Daniela Forever by Nacho Vigalondo, who did Colossal, starring Anne Hathaway and Jason Sudeikis. Colossal was a film that I think ultimately didn't work, but was so interesting conceptually to me, and it had moments of kind of humor or of conceptual brilliance that I thought were really interesting. This was a weird thing to try and do with somebody having like a kaiju alter ego moving around by their unconscious desires. And Daniela Forever looks more like it's in the vein of Jim Carrey movie about forgetting everything.
Eternal Sunshine of the
Thank
Spotless
you.
Mind.
Daniela,
you know what's weird? When I watch this, like this feels like a Michel Gondry film.
Yes.
And that's it filled me with vibes. Like, this is either the cheesiest, stupidest thing ever. It's going to make me cry.
Exactly. That's what I'm feeling from Daniela Forever, starring Henry Golding and Beatrice Grano. No idea if it'll be any good, but it could be. And they had some interesting imagery and a few lines pulled out in the trailer.
I will say, Nacho Vigalondo, I've seen actually a couple of his films in addition to Colossal. I've seen a movie called Time Crimes that he did in Spain, I believe. And my feeling has been consistently good idea, execution didn't land, and I'm probably expecting more of the same from Daniela.
Yeah.
And I would also say, of the ones you called out, I did think 40 Acres looked interesting. I think 40 Acres has a really good hook. My concern with that is we are living through a moment right now of people trying to create the next big Jordan Peele-esque moment, and Jordan Peele seems to be consistently the only person who can make them. So these like hoarder-ish genre films about the Black American experience that we've had a few of lately, I just think they typically don't work. So I'm optimistic. I'm going to maybe see 40 Acres, but I don't know that I would say that I expect much out of it, just because it feels like it's trend chasing in a way.
This is a debut film, right, for R.T. Thorne?
I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Okay.
And he's done some TV work. This is his first film. But the film I was going to pull out was Cloud.
Oh, okay, great.
And less because I think that I kind of agree with both of you. The trailer makes me feel a little bit confused as to what the experience is supposed to be. But I'm going through the list of these movies and I see the name of an auteur that I trust, and I'm going to latch onto that. I actually haven't seen anything Kurosawa has done in the last decade plus. I think the last thing I saw of his was Tokyo Sonata from 2008. But, there's enough in Kurosawa's backlog that is good that I'm going to trust that I've missed out on some good things. It sounds like I do need to catch up with at least Chime. And fingers crossed that Cloud is something. Again, it's a filmmaker whose work I have in the past liked, which automatically puts him near the top of the list for this month.
Can I guess that Cure is your favorite of his? Is that that be your go-to?
Yeah, it would be.
Okay, it felt very much up your alley. Yeah.
Yes. Need to rewatch Cure. It's been a lot of years since I've seen it.
I don't know if I've seen any of his movies. I think if I go looking for Kurosawa movies, I'm not going to get his.
Sure.
And I would say Cure or Pulse are the one to see first, because those two
are the two
everyone's
best known.
favorite. Yeah.
70 films? Good Lord. You have watched 0 of 70. Wow. So...
yeah, but a bunch of those are like shorts and things that are like proper movies.
But I've managed not to see any of this. He's been in the game for over a decade. You said...
97 is when Cure...
97?
in
Okay,
the
so I
80s.
managed...
Yeah.
Okay, well, it looks like I have lots of homework to do.
But
Maybe I should...
Cure and Pulse would be the ones to start with, though.
I think... I mean, Chime and Cloud are in cinemas now. Maybe I'll just go... For
yeah.
Fair
Actually,
enough.
you know what? Chime is also an excellent introduction to his deal. I feel like Chime will tell you in 40-something minutes exactly how you're going to feel about Kurosawa's movies.
Maybe I'll have to treat myself to Chime once I'm done watching Joshua and the Promised Land. Palate cleanser.
I wanted to... Can I mention one last film? It's like the last week, there's a special limited release. This we have Bambi the Reckoning. And I don't really want to talk about...
Oh my God.
I do not actually want to talk about Bambi the Reckoning. One thing, the trailer, there's no clear connection to Bambi in the trailer. Like, there's an evil deer.
Really.
There's an evil deer, but they don't even mention like the fucking hunters. I just
Right, it
want
must
to
be
make sure,
revenge for his mother, right? That's gotta
It
be.
better be, otherwise why bother?
There's an SNL skit about that already. But I wanted to bring it up because people say, "Oh no, Bambi is the next Disney classic on the chopping block for the live action treatment." I just wanted to tell people that there is indeed a live action adaptation of Bambi. It's not based on the Disney. It's another adaptation of the original novel, Bambi: A Life in the Woods. It came out last year by Michel Fessler, and so I guess it's a French film now. It's a Bambi: L'Histoire d'une vie dans le bois. It's just exactly Bambi: Life in the Woods. Real deer. It looked almost like a documentary. Only 77 minutes. Middling reviews, which means that compared to any other live action adaptation that Disney or these chuckleheads are making, horror movies, it's going to be a masterpiece compared to those.
Can we just judge how bad the trailer is on the basis of that they immediately show the CGI abomination and then proceed to show it in just about every other frame of the film? Like,
it's the anti, like this, like show the monster as much as possible in your friggin' trailer, right?
Yeah. Like, what?
Including a kill. I was like, just straight up, well, I guess I know you did last summer, showed us a kill as well. I guess they're getting bolder about spoiling everything. But there is counter programming whenever Disney decides to butcher their classic Bambi. You can watch a mediocre live action Bambi instead of a soul searing make you wish for death Bambi.
I will say about Bambi only that I've been kicking around the idea that I really do need to start catching up with these public domain awful Disney pastiches.
Why?
And because
it's going to be. You can collect them for Summer of Blood. You can do Summer of Blood next year.
Well, the thing is, I was thinking I was going to watch Screamboat sometime in the near future, and then I learned that Screamboat is one of no fewer than 3 horror movie Steamboat Willies that exist in the world right now. And I'm like, I don't have the energy for that. I don't have the energy to even learn that fact, let alone capitalize on it. So
what a world we live in. Oh.
All right. Well, on that very happy note, I feel like this is probably a good opportunity to wrap up. July is going to be what it's going to be, and we'll get through it. Before I let you two go, any projects you want to plug? Any place we can find you on the internet or in the world?
Nothing new since the last ones I talked about, but again, for folks who don't know, I do design role-playing games at sojournrpg.com. Our latest was Let Us Build a Tower, about ascending the tower to heaven in a mythic Bronze Age Babel and ancient Mesopotamia. It's a lot of fun. Give it a look. And I will be demoing it at Gen Con, actually, if you happen to be in Indianapolis. In the dates of July 31st to August 3rd. It's the biggest tabletop gaming convention in this hemisphere. Ton of fun. Come check it out.
Excellent. How about yourself, Gavin? Any new news?
Well, my book is currently stuck with the indexer. So it was supposed to be released in July. It would be available for free. You could download it for free. That's the thing you do in academia because it's important for people to read your stuff.
Open access.
Open access. Yes, thank you. Mm-hmm. I'm going to pay a whole lot of money for it to be open access because I want people to read it, but it's not available yet. But the conference that I will be delivering tomorrow will be filmed and put on YouTube. So if you want to know about Tobit in the 16th century,
I do.
I will share the link. You will know all about the Book of Tobit. Which sadly there are no film versions of that. There are lots of Judith, but no Tobits. Cannot tie that.
Hopefully your paper will inspire some film producer to correct that.
There is a petition to Mel Gibson to make a Tobit film, but I don't think he's the right director for Tobit.
Oh, you think?
Maybe. Well,
let's see how his Harrowing of Hell movie goes before we
okay.
have any more.
Yeah, that's all for now. It's my regular column at Alternate Ending. Sometimes I participate in other movie podcasts, but not too frequently. Last time I did record one with my father on Inherit the Wind at a podcast called The Goods. You can hear me talk too much about recondite subjects, which is what I do when you put me on a podcast about single film subjects. That's
why we love it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, both of you, for joining us. And thank you all for listening. Next week will be the first episode of July. So we're going to have our own Mandy Albert back with another edition of Your Movie Rocks. So be sure to check that out. In the meantime, thanks as always. Be sure to click over to Patreon if you want to support the show, and we'll see you again soon.